Good morning, everyone. Subaru is a leader in crossovers of all sizes, and today we are spending time with their smallest offering, the Crosstrek. It was recently redesigned, but Subaru has made changes every year, including some small refinements for the 2019 model year. Special thanks to Quantrell Subaru and Lexington for providing this Crosstrek Limited in Venetian Red Pearl, but as always we'll be covering the other trim levels as well. If you're in the market for any Subaru, be sure to stop by physically or via their website, which we provided a link to in the description. Anyways, let's go ahead and get to it. So starting out with the exterior design, this is very obviously a Subaru, as well as a member of the Impreza family. Of course, this is related to the Impreza hatchback, but it has a more rugged appearance thanks to the dark finish on the grille and beefed up bumper. The other important ingredient is the excellent 8.7 inches of ground clearance, which is much more than what rival vehicles usually offer. For the lighting, our Limited comes with these good-looking fully LED headlights, which even swivel with the steering. The other two trims, however, get simpler halogen headlights, and the base trim will do without the fog lights as well. Looking at the side, the rugged looks continue with black moldings around the wheels and along the side. At 176 inches long, it continues to straddle segments, being about 5 inches shorter than the Forester, but also about 5 inches larger than the average subcompact crossover. Around back, the look is finished off with chunky taillights which are partially LED, thick bumpers surrounding the reflectors, and large black roof rails across all trims. Overall, the Crosstrek does a good job of capturing Subaru's off-road prowess, but in a subtle and tasteful way. Coming up to the wheels, all trims get handsome options. This being the Limited, of course, means we get the largest ones, 18 inches with a black contrast star design. The other two trims get 17-inch alloys with a very similar design. For your mirrors, they are heated and body colored on all but the base trim, and the Limited adds turn signals and standard blind spot monitoring. And on the subject of safety, this is one of the main changes for 2019. The EyeSight safety package is now optional on the base trim in addition to the premium, and the Limited trim now gets all the safety features standard plus a couple exclusive ones. EyeSight includes adaptive cruise, pre-collision braking, and lane keeping assist, while the Limited also adds reverse auto braking and auto high beam headlights. Just be aware that they can only be added to models with the CVT. The last thing to talk about on the outside are the fuel ranges. The tank capacity is fairly large at 16.6 gallons, giving the CVT model a range of 481 miles, falling to 415 with the manual. And of course, it does use regular unleaded fuel. Well, with that, we conclude the exterior. So now let's head inside. So just like most Subarus, you do have standard keyless entry and smart entry on the Limited trim. You can also remote start from the StarLink app. Now to get inside the Crosstrek, all you have to do is stick your hand behind the door handle because there is a sensor. Alright, so looking inside the 2019 Crosstrek, as you can see, it's got the latest Subaru design language. For 2019, there continues to be a pretty limited selection of colors, either black or gray across all the trim levels, and then leather coming on the Limited only, and cloth on all the rest of the trims. And as far as the orange stitching is concerned, the Premium gets it on the seats, and then the Limited gets it all throughout the cabin. Turning over to the door trim, it is very upscale. You've got leather through here, orange stitching, and then you've got a really nice perforated leather all through the middle portion. The top part is nicely padded, and then on the Limited you will find a metallic carbon fiber trim instead of the matte on the other two trims. The windows are one-touch automatic for the front two only. Now coming to your seat, it is 6-way power adjusting on this Limited trim, and 6-way manually adjusting on the other two trims. And then, like I said, only the Limited comes with this leather, which is really nice and high quality, and I also really like the orange stitching. So the first thing I notice about the Crosstrek's cabin is that it's almost exactly the same in both design and materials as more expensive Subarus. That means you have really high quality soft touch plastic across all the upper portions. And then on this Limited, once again, you do get this really classy looking stitching design. Here in the middle, you've got a metallic trim, and then even lower areas are padded with more stitching. And overall, everything fits together really, really tightly. To start the Limited trim, all you have to do is press this button. Also exclusive to the Limited trim is this 8-inch touchscreen. The other two come with a 6.5-inch one. So looking at your gauges, they have the typical clean but classy Subaru design. And you'll find this 4.2-inch multifunction display on any Crosstrek with the EyeSight safety systems. Now this does have a little bit of information, mostly pertaining to just your trip and your speed. But, more importantly, up here, the Limited trim has an additional 6.3-inch screen, and this has a lot more information. As you can see, you can check on the status of your safety systems, off-road, temperatures, even the weather, so a whole bunch of stuff. And you can just cycle through this using this button on the steering wheel labeled Info. And as far as the steering wheel itself, you do actually get the leather wrapping on both the Premium and Limited trims. There are a lot of buttons. The top ones are pertaining to your audio. Like I said, the Info is for the middle screen, and then this controls the multifunction display and the gauges. On this side, you've got your adaptive cruise control and safety systems. Up top, you will also find paddle shifters on all models with the CVT transmission. The wheel itself is manually tilt and telescoping, but heating is not available on any trim. Now, as far as storage goes, the Crosstrek does really well for a pretty small vehicle. Starting out with your center console, as you can see, it is pretty deep. And you've got your connections inside, which are 2 higher voltage USB ports, an aux jack, and a 12-volt outlet. Up in front of that, you've got your 2 cup holders, and then you've got a big storage area here, great for a phone or something like that, with a 12-volt outlet back there. They managed to give you all that space without having to go to any type of convoluted electronic shifter. Now this is leather wrapped on the Limited, and you just pull back for drive, and then you can bump to the left to activate manual shifting, which is done via only the paddle shifters. Going into reverse, all models do include a backup camera, and you have active trajectory and parking sensors on this Limited. And then you do have your manual handbrake. Now off to the side here, you will find a button labeled X mode. So on models with a CVT transmission, this basically just primes everything for optimum off-roading performance. And then to the right of that, you will find 2-stage heated seats on the Limited trim only. Moving on up to your climate controls, they are single zone automatic on the Limited and manual on the other 2 trims. Regardless though, every model comes with these 3 easy to use knobs. So you just twist and all the adjustments do appear up here on the top screen. So overall, really simple to use. Now let's go ahead and sample our 6-speaker audio system. The system sounds pretty decent, but there is an optional Harman Kardon sound system available on the Limited trim. Anyways, now that brings us to the StarLink infotainment system, so let's go ahead and take a quick look. So like I said, here on the Limited trim, you do have an 8-inch display, and then you've also got some physical controls underneath to help you control it. So you can press the home button to take you to this page, which is filled with all of your applications. So we'll start out with the phone, where you've got all your traditional stuff, including your contacts, which automatically sync over from your smartphone. And you can toggle by letter category as well. Additionally, you do have messages that you can click on, have them read aloud to you, and you can even reply with some pre-made quick messages here. Going into your apps, this is where you'll find a lot of different things, but most importantly, you'll find Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Now these do come on both the 8-inch display and the 6.5-inch displays on the lower two trims. It is also worth noting these give you access to navigation, which is important since navigation is only optional on the Limited trim, and we don't have it. That more or less covers all the highlights of the Subaru StarLink system. But of course, we do have a detailed, in-depth tutorial available for those of you who want to find out more. A link to that video is provided in the description. Up top, our model has the frameless auto-dimming mirror with HomeLink universal remote and compass, and this is an option on all trim levels. Additionally, you will also find a moonroof as an option on the Limited trim. It is just a standard size unit, but you do have a windscreen. So overall, like I said earlier, I'm just really impressed by how similar this cabin is to more expensive Subarus like the Outback and the Ascent. You're really not missing anything meaningful, so this certainly does not feel like a cheap car. Now Mason will go ahead and finish off the rest of the cabin.
The back door trim of the Crosstrek is about the same as the front. You still do have leather padding where your armor rests, as well as this perforated material above it. This part is less shiny than the front though. Your window is power adjusting, and you do have some door storage. Now in the back of the Crosstrek, you're going to find 35.4 inches of legroom and 37.7 inches of headroom. That does place it a little bit smaller than the Forester as expected, but it's pretty decently sized overall. The seats are pretty comfortable. They're a nice perforated design, and you do have some more of that orange stitching. In the center, you're not going to find any vents or anything, but Subaru was nice enough to include an armrest. It does have some cup holders inside. Up top, the headliner is pretty nice. You do have some lighting, which is LED. And you have an assist grip and coat hook. Now behind Drew's position, I actually have a lot of space. You'll find probably, that's almost about a foot of space, and my feet can slide easily up under the seat. So this is definitely not a really small car. Sliding over, even with the seat all the way back, I still have a very good amount of legroom. So overall, I really like the Crosstrek's rear seat. It might be pretty basic as far as features are concerned, but it's very comfortable and spacious. The rear seats do fold 60-40 split, so just grab this little tab and pull up. Now heading around to the tailgate, it does not power or anything, so just grab this little button under the lid. Now once you open it, you're going to find 20.8 cubic feet with the rear seats in place, expanding to 55.3 cubic feet with them folded. Subaru was nice enough to include this little cargo cover, as well as some lighting back here. And you do have a cargo net. Underneath all these plastic mats, you will find a spare tire. And I would like to mention that these little tabs make it really easy to fold the seats from back here as well. It does provide a very flat loading floor. Passenger seat is that same design, however it is manually adjusting on all models. Front of the passenger, you do have nice materials with that orange stitching and soft padded plastic, as well as some silver trim. Glove box is dampened and decently sized. As far as your sun visor, you do have a mirror and light. Can also adjust and has an extension in the end. Well guys, that's all I have to cover up here, so let's go ahead and get to the powertrain and test drive. So like every other part of a Subaru, it's not very complicated under the hood. You have a 2-liter Boxer 4 engine producing 152 horsepower and 145 pound-feet of torque.
And of course, your power is routed through the symmetrical all-wheel drive system, which is standard across all the trim levels. And then you have either a CVT or a 6-speed manual transmission.
And it's worth noting that the CVT is standard on the Limited trim. As far as fuel economy goes, the Crosstrek is pretty efficient. For the CVT model, you'll find 27 city, 33 highway, 29 combined, which drops 4 miles per gallon for the manual to 23 city, 29 highway, 25 combined. And that is pretty much it under the hood.
Alright, so this is obviously not a enthusiast vehicle, but we will talk a little bit about some of the driving things you could expect. First of all, power comes on really smoothly. It really comes on immediately. There's none of that rubber bandy feel. And it also doesn't make a lot of noise when you get more into the throttle application.
I also want to point out that this is a very small vehicle, but it seems to be sitting up higher than a lot of small vehicles do, of course. It is actually sitting up higher, but it feels a lot bigger. It feels more like an SUV than a sedan, really. And that's something that
right,
you
a lot of
see.
the cars this competes with, you're going to find that they are much, much lower to the ground. This has about 8 inches of ground clearance, so that is much higher than most of the rivals, which is at closer to about 6 inches. Now, as far as ride goes, it actually is very smooth. You really cannot feel any bumps. Now, the last thing I want to say is that the steering is really nicely weighted. This is actually heavier than what you find in a lot of the rivals.
Overall, I think that this vehicle would be great for a person who needs a little bit of utility for, not so much money. If you don't need a giant SUV or anything, you have plenty of room in the back. You sit up higher so you feel like you're driving an SUV, and yet it's still a maneuverable and small vehicle. So I think it's really good at achieving that, and if that sounds like you, then you definitely need to check out this Crosstrek. Well guys, we hope you enjoyed watching the first in-depth look at the 2019 Subaru Crosstrek 2.0i Limited. Stay watching for a quick overview of the pricing, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons below. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.